Have you ever thought of smiling when we go live?
No.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to series Shenanigans on the Let's Talk channel. We are back for season 2 and super excited that you have joined us. We have a wonderful guest again tonight. But first off, I'm Valerie Lorraine, and this is my producer, Quentin, who's in charge of the audio. So that feedback is on him. Hi, Quentin. How's it going? No, I can't hear you.
I said I'm all right.
Oh, good. Good. Did you have a nice long weekend?
I got a lot going on. I'm kind of in the middle of doing something else, trying to eat. I didn't eat yet. So I apologize for my craziness.
It's okay. It was the first day back to school here in Canada, so
Oh, so
life is
season
fast.
two. We got season two here. Who's this gentleman coming tonight?
This gentleman's name is Mychal, and he is an internet sensation on Instagram, anyways. And I'm sure he has other social media that he's going to tell us about, but he has a very warm and heartwarming channel, and we're going to learn more about him and just have a great evening.
Good. I'm looking forward to it, and we'll see how things go. We got renewed for season two.
I know,
So
isn't that
all your
amazing?
other shows got a season two. Let's see. I don't know. He's coming the first out the gate. We don't need to be getting canceled early.
No, you know what? They've given me renewed hope over there on the board. I'm doing something right, I guess.
The board can get a little crazy.
I know, right? Like, I guess I'm just smoozing them the right way.
All right. Well,
All
without
right,
further ado, here goes Mychal.
here we go. Hi, welcome.
Hello, thanks for having me.
Oh, we are so thankful that you are here. A great many of us have really enjoyed your channel and watching all of your heartwarming stories. So it's wonderful that we can have you here as a guest and continue the conversation.
Yeah, I'm happy. I'm excited to talk with you.
Well, I am very excited to be able to ask you. And the very first question that I have for you is tell us in the short answer of who Mychal is.
As a short answer, I am a librarian. I'm a supervising librarian for Solana County Library. I've been a library worker for almost a decade in a couple of months. Is a short answer. I'm just a person who appreciates the library, appreciates all that it has to offer. A lifelong bookworm, a person who's just trying to show everybody how powerful having a library card can be.
Right? It's very exciting. Remember those younger days when we went to the library. Now things have changed a bit, but the library is always a special place to go. So we want to know, where did your love of books come from?
My love of books came from probably just from my family and just an overall love of books from a very early age. I grew up homeschooled. I only ever truly went to public school for my senior year of high school.
Yeah.
So much of my education was spent in the library. So I've been going to the public library ever since I can remember. That's where I first fell in love with books. My grandfather I was always reading books. He's always read Stephen King. But we grew up like reading Harry Potter books and then going to Harry Potter movies together. My mom would always read us books for story time. She would read us books out loud, the craziest books, kid books, even some books that she maybe not have been read aloud to kids, but she still did it. She read this book called A Child Called It by Dave Pelzer, which is not story time material, but it is a very intense story. So yeah, I think just my family, just being raised in libraries and being raised around people who love books, is where
Right.
my general love stemmed from.
Well, that is always very important. I myself was raised with lots of books, lots of reading, lots of examples of people around me reading. So I can relate to the love of books coming from that. What is the most unexpected perk you found when you became a librarian?
The most unexpected perk. I'm trying to think. I think the most unexpected perk is really just if you are a bookworm that you get to know when the books are coming sooner. You know when they're going to get there. That's the main perk. I mean, it is actually very nice that people do recognize the library as being a public service. So there are some discounts. Just for instance, a lot of people don't realize that being a public library worker, you're often considered a government employee or a county employee. Um, so there are some benefits that come with that. But otherwise, I think just literally just having benefits is a perk for me as a library worker. But then just I think lately, with how much people love books and love libraries, it's just like hearing people's genuine enthusiasm when when you tell them you work for the library, and they're like they actually think that it actually is a cool job to have.
That in itself is a perk. People being very interested in your job.
Exactly.
What book would you say changed your life?
I That's a good question. There's many books. I think that for me, a lot of books helped me through a lot of mental health struggles, through anxiety. So I think for me, it just whichever books I was able to connect with the character, and dig deep and form connections. I feel a lot of friendships with a lot of book characters. I think Where the Wild Things Are is the one I always tell
Mm,
people. If I have to pick a favorite one, that's a favorite one. That's the one that's tattooed on my arm. Um, I think just the general imagination of it, just the way that Maurice Sendak drew the wild things. I think the kind of the chaotic nature of Max trying to be the king of the wild things, all while his mom is just trying to get him to behave, and be a kid so that he can go to sleep, so that she can have some alone time. So I think that behind the scenes of the book. So I think just for people don't realize how many layers are into Where the Wild Things Are, and that just I've always loved that one.
that is a very good book. You've just reminded me. I think I need to revisit that book with the youngins
Right.
around here. Name a time that was just so great you'll never forget it.
Well, there's so many times because I've been with the library for 10 years. I think when I first became a children's librarian in Vallejo, like it was just that was my first realize like how funny library people are without even trying to be, and just like how many cool stories there are. I think going to different schools, going to different sites, doing story time, and understanding that often like it was just that connection of the library to the schools to the community. We wouldn't even always read a bunch of books. Sometimes it would really just be conversation, telling them about things coming up at the library, and then just kind of just listening. I think that's the power of library workers is going out of the community and listening, giving people a chance to tell their story. Even kids who will tell you 1,000 stories if you're in 10 minutes if you're willing to let them. And just I think those are some of the best days for me. Just hearing them mock my appearance without knowing that they're doing it, but they're little people, so they're not intentionally being mean.
Right.
They're being very funny. Hearing them talk about my hair, trying to have me do different Fortnite dances shows you when I was doing different visits. So I think those are the best days for me, just being able to go out into the community, and represent the library to all the kids and families and anyone who listen about the library.
Oh, that sounds like so much fun. Let me see. What is the most challenging part of your work?
I think the most challenging part is the part that people don't expect about the library. That as much as like even I like to show like how great it is being a library worker, that it is not an easy job at all. There's a lot of stress that comes into being a library worker, just because everybody is welcome at the library. That often means that there are the unhoused are welcome to come in from whenever we open to whenever we close, and that sometimes creates some tensions for people, just because they always operate on being on the defensive. And so as library workers, we have to kind of break down those walls and show that we're not asking them questions so that we can kick them out. We're just trying to honestly connect with them so that we can be authentic and genuine in saying that the library is for everybody. And just wearing different hats as library workers. There's it's
Mm.
still like libraries aren't um, poor, but they'd also don't get all the funding that they do deserve. So sometimes the buildings need some help, and it's doing different things. There's different elements. We're not mental health workers, but we often deal with a lot of mental health things just because of the community trusting us, and other various questions that we're not experts in, but we just do various research for people. So I think that's like the unexpected part is just how hard it can be being a library worker. But In working with library workers for the last 10 years, I've seen how passionate they are, and that no matter what the struggle is, they're always going to keep on going because they care that much about the community.
Okay, so when I designed that question, I was really curious because, of course, there's what we see when we go to
Mhm.
the library. Everybody just, mulling around, getting books returned and put back on the shelves, and maybe story time or talking with people, but we don't see the behind the scenes. So I was like, I wonder what the biggest challenge is. So that was really an interesting and eye-opening answer. Okay, this is one of my favorite questions. I ask this in every show. So actually, I'm gonna say this since I just was saying every show. I just want to take a minute and thank everybody if you've joined in the room, whether you have logged in and we can see your comments, or whether you are watching without logging in, so we don't even know you're here. Thank you so much for being here. If you're watching this on replay, welcome. We'd like to welcome you to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. And I'd also like to take a moment to thank our producer, Quentin Ford. There we go. The business out of the way. This is my favorite question. And the reason why it's my favorite question is because if anybody asked me this, they could ask me daily and my answer would change every single day. So with that in mind, name 3 people from history that you would really enjoy to have dinner with and sit down and have a great conversation. It can be current or all the way past.
And it's 3 people. Wow.
Yeah, right?
That is tough.
Right?
I think I would love to have dinner with definitely with Mr. Rogers.
Mm.
Man, that is tough. Only 3. So I would say Mr. Rogers, Betty White.
Oh, yes.
And who would be the 3rd one? That's a tough one. There's many people. I feel like the list is like 50 people long, but definitely Mr. Rogers, Betty White, and I would say probably Beverly Cleary. Beverly Cleary's books meant a lot to me. So she was the one who I think she was over 100 years old. She was the one I thought like, oh, I could have met Beverly Cleary, but just too late.
Well, this is the first time that I get to see this. I'm inviting myself to that dinner. Betty White and Mr. Rogers and Beverly Cleary. That is an incredible dinner and conversation night.
A few different
Beautiful.
personalities, that's for sure.
Right? That would be so much fun. And Mr. Rogers was so in depth. He
Mhm.
really did a lot in the community and just had an incredible personality.
Very much so.
Yes. If you left being a librarian behind, what would you choose as a career?
Oh, I don't know what I would choose. I think I always thought I would be. Well, I always thought I would be different jobs growing up. I never thought that I would be a librarian. I think that's something people don't know. Is I never this never was my dream to become a librarian. I didn't realize it was a possibility. I think I've always been interested in nursing. I always thought that was that would be a fun, interesting, powerful, impactful career. Just being able to help people with their various ailments. Unfortunately, I just would never. I would never big into science. I could have done it and like just made my way through, but I feel like I would have just been miserable taking all those science courses, which of course I understand is a major part of being a nurse, which is also very funny because technically my degree is in library and information science. So even though
Science, right?
I'm science isn't the biggest thing to me, it took on aversion. But yeah, I've always thought that I think the nursing would be a very cool, rewarding career. I always admire all the nurses that I've come across, and just am very impressed with all that they do and have to manage inside their brilliant brains.
Absolutely, absolutely, and carrying personalities,
Exactly.
which you would definitely fit in. So, listen to this next question. You are definitely a people person. Do you have any secret talents that you want to share with us?
I don't. People ask that sometimes, and I don't feel like I have any secret talents. I even wonder sometimes what I'm doing in the library. I think I just have a friendly personality. I just like talking to people, just seeing how they're doing. I like learning people's stories. I guess the only, I guess, like hidden talent would be I used to be very good at running. I recently got
Okay.
back into it, but I ran a marathon before, a couple half marathons. So I guess a version of fitness and running.
Yeah.
But I'm dabbling in some other things, trying to get more into photography, just to appreciate the pictures and the nature of the world and of humans. Getting more into art. I can't draw for anything, but just I've always been fascinated by people who can. I think that's what I've always loved about books from an early age was the illustrations. I think that's what drew me in and connected me to. So um,
Mm.
nothing. I don't think so. I think I'm more so my hidden talent skill is more so trying to highlight other people's talents and skills, and celebrate and cheerlead for what they're doing.
That is a talent. That is a usually a natural born talent, but it really is, and it's so important in this world. Okay, what book are you convinced that the whole world would either enjoy or learn the most from?
Enjoy or learn the most from?
Either
Um,
one.
trying to think. Yeah, at some point in their life, or for every age, or all the above.
Yeah. I mean, you can disseminate your answer, but I had to make it pretty generic so that you could take it wherever you wanted it to go.
Yeah, I think there's a few different ones. I think Front Desk by Kelly Yang is about a young girl and her family who immigrated to America, and are running a motel in California. I think that just is a great tale, a great book, especially in the band and the time of banned books. It just is a true, basically based on the true life story of Kelly Yang, just a chronicles of her and her family running the front desk of a motel. But it's just an Asian family, and of course, in telling that story, she's very honest about the things that she went through. So it's a very good look into a young person's life, as far as experiencing racism and other hardships, and then just family dynamics, which I think even if you're not truly struggling, family dynamics are always an interesting thing. And Front Desk by Kelly Yang does an incredible job of doing that. I think later on in life, I think one of my favorite books recently is a very difficult title, but it's "I'm Glad My Mom Died" by Jeanette
Mhm.
McCurdy. Jeanette McCurdy, the former I believe Nickelodeon or Disney star. She's a bit younger than I am, so I didn't watch the show that she was in. But she just tells the incredible story of her being a child star and growing up with that, and the difficulties that she faced with her mom kind of pushing her into that life, and then the various struggles that came with that. It's an incredible look into mental health, and to just the various journeys that a person can struggle with and still overcome,
Right.
and survive, and then just flourish as best they can. And then similar vein for mental health, I love a book called Broken by Jenny Lawson.
Mm.
Jenny Lawson is a comedian. She just does a very great job of making mental health a humorous thing, and just showing you that a successful, funny person also suffers from mental health. I think that kind of goes back in line with your dinner question. That I think Robin Williams would have been the fourth person I would have invited to dinner, and he's he's a, he's a, he's a, he's a
Him
person
and Betty White
who
together.
was
Woo.
incredibly funny, but people didn't understand. So for me, I
Yeah.
think those are the kind of books that everyone needs to read, just to kind of understand life, but also it's dark, and it's a little bit difficult, but also put the funny, positive spin on it at the same time, and get there in the end to
Yeah.
show you that these people that you didn't think were struggling like you um, are also struggling, and then just the whole representation piece of pretty much every book that Kelly Yang authors.
Oh, those sound like amazing books. Um, okay, so you mentioned banned books, so let's talk about banning books. Obviously, I'm sure that you have a great opinion on it. Why do you think it's happening?
It's happening, I think, just because a lot of people are very worried about the state of the world. Honestly, I think I since I've been looking more into banned books, it's really happened a lot at the rise of the pandemic. Unfortunately, I think I remember talking to some people and being like, "Oh, you would have thought that the time of the pandemic, when everyone's scared for their health, that's what we would have band together and then unified, and then saw that, oh, these books are are a common thing. Like we can all read books together to pass the time. I think people got as we were getting more and more scary during the pandemic. Not to make this conversation with the pandemic, I think that's when we kind of started to become even more divided than we already were. And that's when you started seeing people realize that because there have been a huge uptick in illustrators of color, as well as authors of color. And I think that's making it tough is that people are just assuming that authors in color and illustrators of color are trying to push an agenda, trying to say something, trying to always talk about racism and stereotypes and bias. When really people of color, authors of color, illustrators of color are just telling our stories,
Right.
telling other stories just like anybody else would. People of color, illustrators of color, we like to write and draw about dragons and other various things as well. It doesn't always have to be heavy. Sometimes it just so happens that the characters in the books happen to be people of color, and that's not even the central theme. It just is a character, just like anybody else. So unfortunately, I think the banned books are on the rise because people read more into the books than needs to be read, and sadly, often people don't even read the books that they want banned. And I think that's the major problem is that you listen to that people are listening to people who have a very loud voice. I think that's what I've discovered on social media is that often the loudest voice has a little bit more clout. Unfortunately, even if there's 100,000 people who are very positive, those two negative voices, if they're loud and boisterous, are the ones you're going to hear. So I think
Mm.
if we can convince more people just to read the books for themselves and just continue just showing what they are, that's when we get better. But to answer your question, I think it's just that we're more divided and people are worried and scared, and that's what's making them try to target the books as a last resort.
Mm. So do you think that banning books is a trend that's going to eventually end? Do you think it's going to continue? Do you think that things will balance out in society and that, that little glitch will stop? Because there is quite a backlash over it.
It is. I don't honestly know. I think a lot of leadership decisions have to be made across the United States. There are unfortunately some leaders in various states who make it very difficult. Where even if everybody in the state wants to stop banning books, some of the leaders unfortunately feel the opposite way.
Hmm.
Which makes it very tough because those are the people making the decisions. But I like to think that years from now that we will see a huge drop in how many books are banned. I don't think we're ever going. I don't think we're anywhere close to a place where books are not banned. Because honestly, I think I don't. So I don't really think that books should ever be banned. There's very rarely been a time where where I've read a report of a book being banned and be like, I can see why they did that. But I have come across a couple of reports where people have made some good points about why they think a book should be banned. They'll pull out some quotes from from various books and say, "Oh, I don't know if this is suitable for for a child for a student my child's age," and I get where they're coming from. I just think that banning is a drastic measure. It's one thing to say that it's not right for your child to give you that decision, but for me, I think what people don't realize about banned books is that when you ban it, you're banning it for everybody, and that takes the right away from another person to read it, and that's what makes it difficult for all books. But
Right.
I am hopeful that I think maybe 5 years from now, um, people will start reading the books, and we won't just see books banned simply because it's by an author of color or an illustrator of color. For instance, Jerry Craft's New Kid is essentially a banned book just because people are afraid of what they think the content is. When in all actuality, the book is simply a graphic novel about a young black boy and being the new kid in school, and just goes through the journey of that. There's nothing complicated that's discussed in the graphic novel. People just saw what it was, what it looked like, saw Jerry Craft's amazing illustrations, listened to some other opinions, and then they decided, oh, it must be true. We're going to ban this book. So I think once we all start reading more of these books, and everyone's like, "What were we talking about? These books are just amazing. They're just writing
Right.
them for kids, just like they were when they were kids." That's only better. So that's why I like to highlight kids so much in their joy because I don't think kids are concerned about this. They just want to read books. I went to schools and sites all the time and would take them all sorts of books by various people. And so many times, people would turn to their fellow classmates and give them a book because they saw a kid on the cover that looked like their friend, and they're like, "Hey, maybe you'll like this book. It looks just like you." So kids are just out there just trying to find a good book. Um,
Absolutely.
Adults are the ones who are overthinking, which, as a chronic overthinker, I understand, but
Yeah, right.
got to make some other decisions.
Right. Yes, and as Lene said in the comments there, she said, very good answer. And I agree. So I have one further question on the serious side for you, which might lead into another question. What do you think about AI as coming out with being an author, whether it's through the arts or through literature? What do you think about this?
I am very conflicted on AI in the world of literature, just because I have so many friends who are ridiculously talented at drawing. I can see why they are not the biggest fans of AI, and I support them, and I'm not the biggest fan for that front. I feel like it just takes away from the authenticity and the hard work that illustrators put into. Not that people who use AI are untalented or should never do it again. I just think that as far as art goes, people should think about it a little bit more carefully. That a lot of illustrators have been putting their entire career into something like this, using their own hands, using their brain to put something on the picture. Whereas AI gets to just kind of like pick different themes and then put it in there and then kind of touch it up a bit. So I've never done it myself, so I can't. I'm no expert on this, but I believe as far as the arts goes for books, that it should be considered, and people should listen to what the illustrators have to say. But at the same time, I think as far as AI, it's a general question goes. I'm on TikTok a lot. I do different things. I watch all the videos just like everybody else does. And I love I think the AI music is hilarious. I love that Plankton is singing Rihanna songs. I think that's just way too much and way too funny for a person who grew up watching SpongeBob,
Right.
grow up listening to Rihanna, but listen to Rihanna. I think that's a funny mashup and something that you never thought would come about, and that's because of AI. So I think AI, I think it's like kind of like similar to our previous conversation about fan books, that you have to look at it on an individual basis. You can't jump to conclusions. So for me, I think for me, I look at AI and I listen to what people have to say, and then I evaluate it for myself based on that. So I think for illustrators, I lean a lot on what my friends and then experts who are illustrators and then also writers have to say. But at the same time, I can appreciate AI for the fun of it. I see some images, I'm like, wow, that's AI. I had no idea. That's super
Right.
cool. Um,
Right.
but and then for music, for music, I'm like, yeah, that's hilarious. If you can make some more Plankton and Rihanna songs, I'll listen to them. But like I think I just saw the comment that it takes the originality out of the art, um, which I think goes into the creative piece and the imagination that artists have. That's I think people's problem with AI is that it doesn't that the hardworking people don't get credited for the hard work and the amazing art that they create.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is going to be one of another question that I start to ask people as I delve into um, feeling out just the general population on how they do feel about it. Because I've had a few conversations, and it's a mixed bag, especially when they understand the artist point of view, whether it's an actor whose voice is being used and their image is being used, and or if it's the arts or poetry, a lot of times is generated through AI. I haven't heard so much about literature, but I can only imagine. But yeah, I think it's an interesting topic and lots of interesting discussion to come out of it. See
Yes,
what it comes. I mean, it's here, so now it's how does this all play out, right?
exactly. I mean, I've never thought about it either as far as actual literature goes. I mean, I think I've attempted to write books, short stories off and on for years, and I know how to. I think a couple times I've written over 100 pages, and I just remember how long that took. So from that point of view, I could definitely understand why people are upset and infuriated by AI being able to just churn out something it takes people months and years to write their work. So I can totally understand where they're coming from as far as that
Yeah.
goes.
Yeah. Yeah, interesting discussion. So
Hmm.
tell, if people are watching this and they're, maybe they know of you, but they don't know everywhere that you are, or maybe this is their first introduction to you. Can you let them know where your social media is, where they can find you?
I am a chronically online person. I think I am on every single app that there is. I
Okay.
think most people find me on Instagram and TikTok, but I'm also on Twitter. I'm on Facebook. I'm even on Threads now.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm everywhere. I've been on Twitter off and on for probably 10 to 15 years. TikTok was something I found during the pandemic. That's when it kind of all launched. Instagram, since I got an iPhone, I think, but since I've been on Instagram, since they've been changing the icon on the iPhone. And then Facebook, same thing, just left MySpace, went to Facebook, and I'm still there putting out now, just putting out library content. It's all under the same name. It's all under Mychal 3TS, Mychal spelled funny, Mychal, the number 3 TS, T as in Tango, S as in Sam. Yeah, and I'm just on social media, just promoting libraries. That's really what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to reach people. We reach people where they're at. Let them know about the joys of the library. Let them know that I'm a bookworm. The library is always going to be about books, but there's so much more, and that's what I'm using social media for. It's all been people. I don't think if people entirely understand if this is the first time seeing me, if you've seen me on social media, that it's all very recent. Again, I've been on social media for years and years, but the recent boom that I've seen on social media has been about 4 or 5 months um, that's been happening. So.
Well, I mean, it's a great channel that you have, and we're gonna make sure that your handle and the places that you have, the social media places that you have let us know about, is in the caption, so that if somebody's coming across this later on, they know where they'll be able to find you.
Awesome.
So this is something that I do as we transition into the next part of the show. I always ask all my guests. We talked about a lot, but if there's something that you wanted to let us know, maybe a question that I didn't ask you that you wanted to talk about, anything that you wanted to let the audience know, this is your opportunity to share.
No, I mean you asked me the question about the banned books. I'm always willing to talk about banned books. I think for me, representation is huge. I mean, I think just for people can connect, just so people can feel that they belong, which is the whole point of the library to live to make everybody come in. It's the last place where it's free. There are no expectations. I mentioned the difficulties of being a library worker with the unhoused. Unfortunately, I've got some questions from people sometimes asking what's with all the unhoused people? Why are they here? My answer is always because they belong just like anybody else. There are no expectations as long as you follow the rules. You can come inside. You can come out of the rain. Come out of the elements. You can read a book while you're in there. That's the joy. That's the beauty of libraries. And I always tell people again, the library is more than books. A lot of libraries have maker spaces. You can use a 3D printer. Bakewares collections. You can borrow pans, tool any libraries, borrow various things that help your garden.
Oh,
Movies, video games, the latest movies and TV series, Abbott Elementary, Squid Game, Blu-rays, board games, musical instruments. You can learn how to play a musical instrument through various apps. For homework help, park different parks. There literally is something for everybody at the library, and that's why I always have people come to the library. Some people will be like, "Oh, I'm not big into reading; it's not my thing," and I'm like, "That's totally fine.
okay.
I love reading, but I'm never going to stop trying to get you to fall in love with some book." But there literally is something for everybody. There are people every day who just have to come in there and use a computer to check their email, to check
Right.
their own social media, to print out plane tickets, print out concert tickets, just print out various forms for tax season.
Mm-hmm.
Even we have scanners. Some people have to scan some things to their work. So the library is always going to be there for people. And that's what I tell people. I'm never going to stop talking about it, but I'm also not going to shame you for it. I mean, I have my library card. or not my library. I have Arthur Reed's library card tattooed on me, so I love libraries that much. So I think that's my elevator pitch is that and I think that's what I bombard people with when they come to the libraries. I'm just trying to create an environment where people can work great. And then as far as my social media goes, I always like to tell people that I just have the honor of sharing the joys of the library. It's a lot of library stories I observe. Just because my colleagues are always creating such cool experiences, coming up with cool programs. So I'm just a lucky person who can go on and talk on the positive things that library workers are doing on a daily, weekly,
Yes.
monthly, annual basis.
Yes. And I mean, you really do have such a great channel, such warm, inviting stories, and they just make you happy. So, and I love hearing all about the offerings of the library, because I always get forgetful with those kinds of things, right? Like, I mean, I know that they had movies and certain different things, but I get forgetful of some of the extras that they have at the libraries that we just think about the books.
No, it is. And I think a lot of people, like you said, a lot of people don't know like the even behind the scenes things that I mentioned, and I didn't know it until I started working for the library. Until I applied, I had no idea that there was more jobs besides just librarian. I think for a lot of people, I mentioned all like the fun things that you just said, and I said that libraries have, and then there's always people who are like, "Oh, my library doesn't have that," and I encourage those people to talk to their local library, to talk to their city council people, and tell them that's what you want from the library, because that's really what a lot of
Right.
that's how a lot of those things get started, is by word of mouth, by popular demand. So if you ask for if you want a tool in your library, let the library know that that's what you want. Just keep on telling them. The more community support the library workers have, um, the higher the chances of us to be able to help you out and get what you're looking for, so that you can keep on coming back and uh, increasing the library cards and increasing library visits.
That is great advice, and I think that I know a lot of people who are in the community that I run in. They're going to see this and say, "Oh yeah, I'm all over that," which is your pitch worked, and that's what we're here for. So at this point, we're going to slip into the funnier side of things, hopefully, anyways. So, sometimes it's funny and sometimes it's not. But as I said, the point is that we're going to have fun trying to get to the fun. So we have a couple questions for you. And here at Series Shenanigans on the Let's Talk channel, we do have some prizes. But I will preface it with the fact that shipping and handling is all on you. um, Where else in life have you successfully applied the Dewey Decimal System?
Oh,
Like your
I
cutlery drawer or medicine cabinet?
no, nowhere. I am a person who does not. Um, I am not a person who really even. I'm not even a library worker who really goes by the Dewey
Oh,
Decimal System. When I was a shelver, I think I had it pretty memorized. I knew what a lot of things were, but there are often times where I have to go back and say, let's find out where this section is together. We need to learn how to do this. I'm purely doing it just because I forgot where it is in the Dewey Decimal
there you
System.
go.
But I think I think the funnest place where I see it implemented is people get it. People get their favorite Dewey Decimal System tattooed. So
Oh,
a
there
lot of
you go.
a lot of library workers. Well, I'm covering tattoos, so we always exchange tattoos. And I'll see people who like get their favorite thing. Like if they like gardening, they'll get like a shovel tattooed,
Right.
and then the Dewey Decimal number for a gardening tattooed. And I think that's pretty cool.
That is cool. So I think your answer would probably tee off Mr. Dewey, but cheers to you on that. Somebody just popped into my studio and handed me a special drink, so I am going to partake.
There you go.
What is the loudest thing you will allow in the library?
I love loud in the library days. I am actually upset some people by telling people that I like a loud library. A couple. I've never shushed anybody, but I've been shushed as a library worker. And as you've seen, I don't have a very loud voice, but just having fun with my colleagues, and even sometimes by other library users. I've been told by people to shh, please keep it down. I think my favorite thing the libraries have allowed that's loud is a few months ago, actually probably even a couple months ago, the Vallejo Springsound Library had a punk rock show uh,
Oh, cool.
in the back of the library. So there were various punk bands playing their
That,
music.
that would be loud.
It's just
That would,
kids doing some library moshing, if you will, out there and just having fun. So it was cool to be in the library, looking outside and just hearing loud music being played. But
oh,
also, I think just in the kids section, I allow kids to be kids. I really rely upon their grown ups to say, "Come on, use your library voice." I kind of take it as a badge of honor if I hear kids being loud in the library. I'm like, that means that they're having fun at the library. I'm all for it. Um, if people are really studying, I may say, "Hey, come on, guys, we got some people studying." But most of the time, I'm like, "Ah, it's cool. It's gonna be noisy for a little bit. They're here right after story time, right after the program. That means we did a good job. They're
right.
they're having fun."
Oh, that's good. Well, my next question you just squashed already, but I'm still gonna say, I gotta say it because I still think it's funny. Do you shush people at home? Apparently not.
At home, oh, I shush my cats all the time. There are two cats. I'm surprised I haven't had to shush them quite yet. This is the longest that they've ever gone
That was
with
a really bad
with
time for me to take a drink because I was not expecting that answer.
friends, family members. I don't shush, but the two cats that live here with me, they get shushed
They get
on
shush.
an
Okay, okay.
hourly basis. There, which I named one of them Machine Gun Kitty, so I kind of asked for her to be making noise all the time.
Oh, that's cute. If you had a theme song that you that played every time you made an entrance, what would it be?
That's another great question. I always get I'm a library nerd, and I always get like pumped up from the Reading Rainbow theme song.
Yeah.
I grew up. I mentioned Betty White. I've always loved the Golden Girls theme song. I've watched Golden Girls for a very long time. So long that I think as a kid it was like that shame show where you're like, I watched Golden Girls, and now I say it. Now I say it with pride. I'm like, I love Sophia. I love Betty White. I'm gonna keep
Right.
on watching those reruns. But I think if it played, it would probably be. I've always, for whatever reason, liked the Law and Order SVU
Oh,
theme song, the little dun dun. I love watching TikToks and seeing people dance to the SVU theme song. I think it's hilarious how much energy and passion they put into those little dun dun little beats. Um, so yeah, I think it would probably be for the library. It would probably be Reading Rainbow, but
right.
I grew up in the Bay Area. I've always liked Mac Dre songs. I'm one of those people who likes Mac Dre. I grew up on hip hop. Um, so I feel like it would always change. It would be a different daily song. I'm one of those people who will play a song in a car 100 times in a row until I get tired of it.
I can relate to that. And it's usually not me who gets tired of it, it's my accompanying guests in my car. But
They need a new
so
track.
I think our producer Quentin is obviously doing double duty because he said that he is so busy because he is the master of sound effects and he has that dun-dun from the Law and Order and he like overly plays that during the serious shenanigan part of the show. And so I can tell as soon as you said that he is otherwise busy trying to do something else because he would have played it. Okay. This is still one of my favorite questions for the funny stuff. If you are now a thief who only steals things that slightly inconvenience your victims, what are you taking from their homes
Oh,
or places of work even, I guess?
I don't know if it's a slight inconvenience, but I would probably take people's toothpaste. I feel like I'm a person who brushes their teeth all the time just because I'm
Mm-hmm.
that anti-dentist. So I feel like taking people's toothpaste would just like it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. It's not much monetary gain. They
Right?
wouldn't be that upset, but their teeth would never be clean. their breath would always stink. I just feel like that would be like a good way
That's
to
a
get
good
under
one.
people's skin for less than $5.
Right. Because have you ever like either run out of toothpaste and you brush your teeth without the toothpaste and it's just not the same.
It's not, even if you have to go to the store and just buy mints or gum,
But
it's not the
yeah,
same thing
it's
as
like no, it's just
brushing your
not the
teeth.
same. And I would be very upset, very personally, because I only use cinnamon toothpaste and it's extremely hard to find. So I'd be pretty mad at you.
Yes. That would almost be worse if you just started swapping out everybody's toothpaste for a different type of toothpaste.
Right? Yeah. Give everybody kids toothpaste and right? Okay. Do you eat gummy bears?
I do. I have a huge sweet tooth. I'm a true snacker, so I eat gummy bears, gummy worms, the sour ones, all of those. Those used to be my favorite type of candy. I'm more of a chocolate person now, but I've always loved like all the stuff. I was a Halloween kid who would trade you for sweet tarts and those kind of things.
So do you think that bears everywhere are going to show up and protest now that you've come up with this?
They might. I wouldn't be surprised.
Oh, oh, here we go. I recently was sent a video that is Keep Up the Balloon. You know that game? Keep Up the Balloon that we all played? You know that game?
Yes, where you just have to keep on
so yeah, you just keep up the balloon, right?
Yep.
So this was a Keep Up the Balloon championship. And during this championship, no word of lie, during the championship, the contestants were actually wearing helmets. So I didn't know that it was that dangerous, but it got me to thinking, and I thought I'd let you answer this instead of me having to overthink this. What home sports do you feel, now that we know this, should really make it mandatory to have a helmet?
What home sport should be mandatory to have a helmet?
Right. Yeah. This is now Keep Up the Balloon is now a sport and it has its own championships. Just saying.
I feel like just like the simple game of tag should have a helmet. Like me and my friends and cousins used to take tag pretty seriously. We didn't play in the house too much, but every once in a while you can't go outside for long and you play inside, and sometimes you tag someone too hard and they can take a little bit of a tumble. So
right. That's a good choice
to have a helmet while playing tag with your
As I was thinking about my answer, and I only just thought of this when I was asking you, I was thinking pillow fights. And I would like to see a national championship for pillow fights.
I'm actually surprised that there's not already a championship.
I bet there is. I really do bet there is. So, but you and I can take on that challenge of finding different championships that are unexpected, and we can, share a few of those just for the fun of it.
It's true. I was a sports kid and grew up playing basketball and other things, and we would of course play basketball in the house, either with those little basketball hoop on the door. And I know that there's now a sport called, it happened decade and a half or so ago, of slam ball, which recently came back, where they're jumping around on trampolines.
Oh wow!
And I feel like as kids, even though we weren't jumping on trampolines, it would have been good to wear helmets while playing mini basketball in the house, because kids are always going to take it too far and jump over couches and try to jump over each other. Just all part of growing up.
Yes. Okay, just a couple more questions, but I think they're getting better and better. I think, anyways. If you were stranded on a desert island with a small group of people, and you were officially elected president, what is the first rule you would make?
Stranded on an island? Oh, I feel like the first rule I have to make would have to be some sort of rationing to the food.
Okay.
I say that as a person who would probably eat all the food right away. I would probably enact that food just for myself. I'm the person who will go shopping, buy the snacks I want, and I'll just eat them all in 2 days. So I feel like if I'm the president of this deserted island, if we're going to last, everyone's going to need to learn to moderate
And
Myself.
pay your taxes in the taxes that are done in food. That could work, right?
Mhm.
Okay. I like it. I like it. So, Mychal, between an ostrich and an otter, which pet would you prefer to have in your home with you?
I would much rather have an otter. I'm not too much too. I'm a little bit. I'm not freaked out by ostriches, but they're unusual. I haven't seen any videos like kangaroos where you're like, ah, why are kangaroos so yoked? What are they gonna do to me? But ostriches, I think them just even I've seen the way that they violently put their head into the ground and
Yeah,
then take it out. And even that, I just wouldn't want a bunch of holes in my apartment or
feathers.
eventually my house. I'm sure that there are some scratches and some other dangers that come with having an otter, but it just seems like it would be a much better animal to have than an
Yeah, I mean, fit in your bathtub, and I mean, there's pros and cons of it both, right? Because like just one egg could feed you for the entire day if you ate eggs.
Just true.
It is true, but otter's kind of cute bathtub.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
know,
They just
yeah,
lay on their back. They seem very lazy.
yeah,
They fit better with humans than ostriches too.
good choice, right? And they do that cute thing where they eat on their back and they hold their
Mhm.
food. Yeah, good choice. I like it. Final question. Here we go. If you were arrested and you had to call your family and friends to tell them, what would they assume? You don't even get to tell them yet what you were arrested for. They're just like, I know. And what would they assume that you were arrested for?
Oh, I feel they would probably think that I probably said something wrong to someone about, some sort of banned books.
Okay.
I think you heard me talking on and on about about banned books. I feel like they might think I would just take it too far.
Okay. So maybe like protesting or something.
Exactly.
Okay. So they wouldn't be thinking it was overdue library fees or anything like that, right?
No, I think
No.
they're pretty confident that I would just be able to see to it.
um, well, you know what? Here we do some pretty crazy things. And one of the things that we do is we offer up each of our guests an Amazon card. So I don't know if I have the ear of my producer right now, but he has the ear of the board. So, Quentin, do you know? Are you there, Quentin? Quentin, voice from above. All right. So then, since the board is not going to advise me, I will go with the last known number. And if I find out anything different, I'll let you know. So we would like to thank you so much, and for playing with us on Series Shenanigans, we'd like to offer you an Amazon gift card in the amount of 26 cents.
I really appreciate it. That's going to be a great gumball.
Right. We're so, we're always excited to offer these up to our guests. So thank you so much for enjoying and a wonderful evening with us. And I really did have fun getting to know you and spending this time with you. You're very well spoken and a very warm individual. So thank you so much for spending the time with us here tonight.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. It was great to meet both of you. I look forward to hearing from any other future people. I always welcome the opportunity to talk about the joy of libraries and just to have good conversations about funny and serious things. So I really appreciate you.
Oh, thank you so much. Well, I'm going to try and sign out here and see if our producer takes us off the air, but we'll see what happens. Everybody, we're so thankful for you spending the time with us on Serious Shenanigans. Our guest tonight is Mychal, and you can find him at Mychal3TS on Instagram, Facebook, anywhere your social media takes you. You are going to find him there for some heartwarming stories about the library. So for more shows that we bring you with guests like Mychal and other guests that we've had in the past, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell. There are many shows on Let's Talk on different nights, various styles of shows. So if you like mine, you'll get notified that I'm on again in future weeks. So thank you so much, everybody. And thank you again, Mychal. Quentin, if you can hear us, you can take us off the air now. We're saying goodbye.